Good evening. I'm Tony Rogers. I'm the founder of Harlem Holistic Wellness Week and the president of the Onion One Wellness Group. I am in a new normal here doing a video. We have many different new things that are going on, and this particular conference, which will be a 7-day conference starting today and ending May the 2nd, will be virtual. And you'll be able to see this as well as other discussions and programs on www.h2w.nyc for the entire week. Today is the annual World Tai Chi Qigong Day, which has always started on the last Saturday in April, which has been the beginning when we started the Harlem Holistic Wellness Week. It started also on the last Saturday, based on a guest, my second guest, who I will introduce, Dr. Robert Woodbine, who brought Harlem into that celebration, which is a national celebration. So I have four very unique and gifted individuals that I would like to have a discussion on the health benefits of Tai Chi. And I will begin to introduce each of them. My first guest is Bill Douglas, who is the founder of World Tai Chi Qigong Day. And he is an author. He has a new book, The Gospel of Science, mind-blowing new science of ancient truths to heal our stress lives and planet, explaining how these different types of uh, programs can provide an interesting way for people to heal themselves. Bill also has a number of books. He's written Tai Chi, Mind, Body, and Source, and also The Complete Idiot's Guide of Tai Chi and Qigong, which I had and didn't realize that he had the author of it. But since Bill developed this concept, it has spread all over the world, and now there's even a World Healing Day and a couple of other events that have been a spring to this. And one of the concepts which was unique, and which is why we always look at the last Saturday of April as a very special day, is the one mind concept. When large numbers of people come together with one thought, world peace and healing, it has a tremendous energy. Matter of fact, we went through something, and I should have called you, Bill. On April the 4th, there was a massive meditation for millions of people. This meditation on the wellness and the end of the COVID virus, which in many cases has started to decline after that time. So there is truth in that concept. But again, Bill, how are you? And thank you for coming in from California. It looks sunny out there. How's the weather there?
Actually, I studied Tai Chi and Qigong in California, but now I'm in Kansas City. So yeah, it's kind of sunny in Kansas City.
Well, welcome. And my next guest is the person who brought the understanding of World Tai Chi Qigong Day to Harlem, Dr. Robert Woodbine. And Dr. Robert Woodbine is a licensed naturopathic doctor. He's also a licensed acupuncturist. He's been actually, as I said, the founder and principal organizer for the annual Harlem celebration of World Tai Chi and Qigong Day for since the beginning in 2008. Besides that, one of the interesting things, and I hope that he will be able to share some of his experience for the last 3 years, he was doing training in Northern California with a Dr. Yang from the traditional Yang family, who have been influential in Tai Chi Chi Kong for centuries. So, and one of the things that I think that is really impressive for Dr. Whitby, who has over 59 years of experience in the healing arts and the profession, is that he gives credit to his primary teacher, Peter A. Woodbine, which was his dad. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And congratulations, Tony, on your organizing this virtual reality for the viewers to partake now that we're dealing with this pandemic.
It's a challenge, but I guess the spirit of what we do is to be creative. You know, we have to learn how to adapt. My next guest is Cassandra Grandmaster Lamar Thornton, and Lamar Thornton has been in the Harlem community teaching young people, elderly people for over 30 years. He was very helpful with me. I was going through some difficult times a few years ago, and he introduced me to Kendo, which helped me focus a little bit better, because using the boken, as heavy as it was, doing 1,000 cuts, you didn't have to worry about any other problems. By the time you got to 900, you didn't have any problems whatsoever. But he's also the person who introduced me to Tai Chi. I studied Goju. I have a 6th degree black belt in Goju, and so and actually Grandmaster Thornton studied with my teacher, Major Leon Wallace, and I used to say Tai Chi. That's I'm a Goju man, karate. How's that going to work? But then knowing, because he's he has a great deal of expertise in many judo, jiu-jitsu, and kendo. So by him doing it, it made me interested in it, and I started working with him. He was working with a program that I started at City College for young people, and when I started with him, I was always interested in wellness. Matter of fact, I trained in Korea in a special Taoist wellness practice. And since I was interested in that, he says, Tony, what I'm going to do is to introduce you to my teacher, Grandmaster Abdul Musawir. And I'm happy to say my fourth guest is Grandmaster Abdul Musawir, who is my teacher. So sometimes you have to always make sure that that your primary teacher gets its due. So and that's not difficult, because many people know Grandmaster Abdul Musawir. Matter of fact, it's interesting because a number of people know his students better than they know him. So it's one of those things where this was an opportunity to bring people together that have influenced my life in Tai Chi. And also there is, and you'll see a clip of it at the end of this session, Tai Chi Internal Healing Arts is a film that has been developed by Tahuti Film about the journey and teaching of Grandmaster Musawir. So the panel, as you can see, is full of gifted and wonderful people on World Tai Chi Chi Kong Day. And based on that, Bill, since you are the founder, give us your thoughts as to what is happening this year as it relates to World Tai Chi Chi Kong Day.
Well, because of the pandemic and the restrictions, we realized that we couldn't have the mass events, mass gatherings that normally happen around the planet on World Tai Chi and Qigong Day that start in New Zealand or sometimes Samoa or Fiji. Different years, it starts in different places, but it starts there, and then as the planet turns 10 a.m., it goes around across Asia and Africa and Europe, and then North and South America, and then ends in Hawaii. But of course, those couldn't happen because of the restrictions. And so we decided to postpone the physical part until May 30th, the last Saturday of May, pending further restrictions. We'll just have to wait and see how that unfolds. But today, because it's World Tai Chi and Qigong Day, we encouraged people to do several things. We had an online Qigong summit that we participated in and worked with Lama Tom Trapa, who put that together. It was an 8-hour broadcast. And then David Dorian Ross of TaiChiFit.net, he created a 24-hour revisit to old videos of old Tai Chi events on Facebook. And then there were other online goings on that we posted in our newsletter. And so we're not really sure whether we're going to be able to do the physical event on the 30th. And so what we plan to do in the future is we're looking at the possibility of having more and more online summits where we bring masters in. This time it was mostly the United States, but we're looking at bringing masters in from different continents and having a multilingual Qigong summits online, so that people can take this opportunity while they're at home to pick the brains of some of the masters around the world.
Well, again, this is a new curve for people, but I think that it will become a new normal because some of the things that we're doing now, we will be able to meet and talk to so many more people to allow for them to understand some of the benefits of a Qigong or Tai Chi. There are thousands of people who can tune in and not only see this live, but also come back to it because it'll be posted on your sites as well as the HTW site. So we'll be talking more about that. And Bill, could you, before I go to Dr. Whitby, could you just talk a little bit about your new book?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tony, for mentioning that. Earlier, you were talking about the
April 4th One Mind meditation.
Yeah, the one mind and how human consciousness impacts things. And the Gospel of Science is this new book. It's over 600 pages. And it's cited science on what mind-body practices do. And the physical health benefits are massive. We could literally, if we expanded Tai Chi and Qigong into, my book lays all this out through these hundreds of pages with the science to back it up. But if we could get mind-body practices into public education as a core part of public education from kindergarten all the way up through university, we would literally save trillions of dollars in future health costs. This is all hard science, and I have it all. It's all sourced. I have endnotes in the back of the book where you can go and find the original articles. But we could save trillions of dollars each and every year if we spread mind-body practices through public education worldwide. And it improves the behavior in schools. There's a public school in Baltimore that they got rid of their detention room and they made it a meditation room. So when kids were acting up, they would go to the meditation room. And what they found is that the behavior of the whole school is improved. The incident, the problem rates that they have with, bullying and all those things have gone down. And the scholastic performance of the whole school has improved. And so rather than punishing students into following the rules, they go right to the core, which is consciousness. And so the concept of this book is that we could transform this planet on many different levels, including saving trillions of dollars in health costs
and lives,
and lives, right, and human suffering. And it's just as simple as getting this stuff into public schools at all levels worldwide. It would be very cheap to do, and it's not a pie in the sky kind of thing. It's very doable, and it would have a huge impact on the future of the planet.
And when I get to Abdul Musawir and Lamar Thornton, they are doing some of those things. But Dr. Woodbine, who is a naturopath practitioner and also an acupuncturist, I'm sure will also agree about how Tai Chi Chi Kong has the ability to give some of the issues that or address some of the issues that especially some of our young people where it may even be attention span or all of those different types of concerns. Could you talk a little bit about that, and of course, give us a little information about your 3-year intensive training in the mountains of California? I wanted to be with you, but I said I know I couldn't. I was envious.
There were days that I didn't want to be there. You know, the training that we underwent, we would start at 6 in the morning with an hour of meditation, sitting meditation, and then we would do physical training of some sort from 7 to 8. We would then have breakfast from 8 to 9, and then we would continue training from 9 till noon. We would then have lunch, which was comprised of a 2-hour break. And then we would resume training at 2 till sometimes 5:30, 6 in the evening. And then we would have dinner at 7. And after dinner, it was time to go to bed. And, you know, we would do that 5.5 days a week. So Monday through Friday. That was the intense schedule. And then Saturday mornings, we would train again from 6 in the morning till noon, have a 2-hour break. And then from there, we would have chores. So, you know, Dr. Young's property is 243 acres up in the mountains. And he was pretty self-sufficient, pretty much off the grid. So we, had our own hens, grew our own vegetables, and all of those things needed to be tended Saturday afternoons. And everybody had a rotation for cooking as well. So on the day that you thought you would have off, sometimes on a Sunday, you'd be cooking, you know, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it was a pretty intense schedule from a physical standpoint. My understanding of Tai Chi Chuan really broadened and deepened. I think most people associate Tai Chi with just the form itself, and perhaps one of the weapons, typically a sword or staff. But the depth and wealth of Tai Chi Chuan is really a martial art. And so a lot of our training was in partner drills to cultivate the sensitivity and the awareness of how to negotiate space and distance and movement in different body masses. So it was quite revealing for me, especially given that I started doing this training at the age of 65 and, you know, graduated at the age of 68. But to be perfectly honest, there were a lot of much younger team members, fellow students that were having a difficult time keeping up with me. I think one of the favorite things that I used to do for conditioning was to climb the 2-inch diameter, 20-foot rope from the ground up to the top of a tree. And so that was a lot of fun for me. My best training partner was a 17-year-old Native American from Mashpee, Massachusetts. And we had a battle one day to see who could climb the rope the fastest. And he made the climb in 9 seconds. I made it in 12 seconds.
Well,
and this was without, you know, feet, just using your upper body strength to do it.
Now
but
that back, what are your plans now? How are you going to take all of that knowledge? But you've been doing this for, you got about 50 years in wellness.
Yeah.
What are you going?
Yeah.
How are you going to use that now?
The transition for me, as you said, I've been in the healing arts since I was about 10 years old. So it's been 59 years. Retired as a naturopathic doctor in 2015, so I could do this 3-year program. During the 3 years that I was training, my process was to find a way to synthesize all of what I know in order to be of better service to the community. One of the pitfalls in my experience of being a naturopathic doctor is that it still perpetuates the dependency model between a patient and a physician, in that even though it's a holistic approach, patients seem to be dependent on you to provide the solution for them. And what I vowed to do was to synthesize everything that I've known and that I'm continuing to learn into a model that teaches people how to be self-reliant and self-sufficient, to promote that level of resilience that we're born with. So rather than give someone a fish, is to teach them how to fish. An example of what I've been doing since I've been back, especially during this pandemic, is that I've associated myself with certain churches and their congregations. And we've been doing free conference calls on a weekly basis where I'm educating them over the phone as to alternatives that they can consider in terms of self-care for this current situation, but also in preparation for the next one, because this is not the last time that we're going to be dealing with this. As Malcolm said years ago, the chickens have come home to roost. And in some realistic sense, the chickens have come home to roost, the avian flu. And so, the notion of being dependent on a model that typically depends on just washing your hands or sneezing into your elbow and staying at home is not, while that's important to do, it's not proactive enough in terms of being able to actually promote the kind of level of wellness to counteract those things. And so as Bill was indicating, Tai Chi and Qigong, for me, especially the Qigong, is the root of how to be self-reliant and self-sufficient in the absence of anything else that you may not have access to, which is what we're experiencing these days.
And, as it relates to Bill's concept of sort of doing it in school, there's no equipment needed. There's no
absolutely
budget. The budget is just having somebody who knows what they're doing. So
exactly.
I'd like to move to Grandmaster Lamar Thornton, who has been working with children for a long period of time, as well as in many special competitions. He's involved and has knowledge in many different arts. He's on the committee of the New York State Committee of Jiu-Jitsu. He has been a lifetime member of the U.S. Karate Association, and so many other ways in the NCCAA National Youth Programs. He was an instructor for teachers, and he has 58 years. You might not look that way. None of you guys look that way. He's been doing this for 58 years. As I said before, gave me a Boken one time because I was going through some things. He says, "You want to get rid of your problems? Do 1,000 cuts with that." By the time I would get to 1,000 cuts, as I said, all I wanted to do was to go someplace and rest, and taught me Kendo. I think the Shinai, those things don't hurt even when you have the uniform on. So you have to concentrate, and that's why he introduced me to that, because either you concentrate or you get stung. So I will always look at you, and also he is now the head of the security for our Harlem Week activities, which has been a wonderful. Harlem Week is the largest cultural economic development program, urban cultural economic development program in the country. and we have millions of people who come through. Not, I don't know about this year, but and this is our 46th year, but that's going to be interesting. But Lamar heads up all of the security and which is always good because for all of these years he's trained all of the local people who know who he is or who know who he's trained. So we've always had a very clear way of doing things. Lamar, can you give a little bit of information as to some of the things that you're working on? And also, I have to mention, Lamar has been an instructor to Wesley Snipes. Matter of fact, we did a program at City College when I was there with Wesley Snipes and many other celebrities. He's kind of been one of those behind the scenes instructor of many of the people you see up on the screen. So how are you doing, Lamar?
Good, Tony. I'm doing good, and thank you for inviting me to the forum. Um, well, you know, the name of my organization is New Breed Life Arts and Educational Association, and our mission statement is education through martial arts. And so what we do is like Bill Douglas, we're working with young people, trying to really get into the school system and pass this information on that we have in reference to the martial arts. And again, I just want to say thank you, Tony, and I would like to say thank you to Abdul Mustaway because he was one of my first teachers in karate. If it wasn't for the Abdul Mustaway, I don't think I'd be training because I had started with Peter Urban, but I thought I knew karate until I met Abdul martial arts until I met Abdul Mustaway. So he kind of opened me up to the art, and you know, so I'm just grateful that I'm able to service the young people and the families in the community, and you know, share what what we have the martial arts.
Do you have any programs that are coming up? There's a book. Can you talk a little bit about the book that you?
Oh yeah, the book is Education Through Martial Arts: The Reverse Knockout Strategy for the Victim. And what it is it's a compilation of pictures of all the masters of yesteryears. We display techniques in the book, and we give a history of the system that I've developed, the Kushindaru system, which means strategy, and it consists of Tai Chi, Karate, Jiu-Jitsu, and Budo, all the weapons. And mainly now with the system we're doing now is a lot of breathing, but that's it.
And last but not least is Grandmaster Abdul Musawer, who is my teacher when I can get to him, and that's not what I don't get to him as much as I should, But he stays with me and helps me in many different ways. Abdul has been involved in so many different things, especially with senior citizens, teaching him by Baijan Jin and many of the other brocades and go in Qigong for their health. One of the amazing things too about Abdul is that he worked with a Harlem school, the Harlem Middle School, and helped young people who were on the chess team become champions, using him as a coach and teaching them Tai Chi and Qi Kong, and they would practice before they would go to compete. And from Harlem, they went around the country, and
five national championships.
Five national championships.
4-star hotels. The first time those children had a buffet breakfast. The left hand block, and by leaving their block, they knew now they were part of the nation. So the United States. And this was a very powerful experience and a collaboration. It was the only program in the United States of its kind where you had chess and Tai Chi Qigong, and we had the first African-American chess champion, Maurice Ashley, and worked with also Gerald Times at the time. And we went to 5 nationals and took championships in different divisions with our young men and young women. And it was a wonderful experience for all of them and the parents to get out of the neighborhood. And as I say, to fly first class and go into a 4-star hotel. And one time we was in good old where Muhammad Ali was from,
Kentucky,
Louisville, Kentucky,
right down the street from the hotel. And it was some experience. In the museum, you had a place where you could lay back and look up at the ceiling and hear him recite his poetry. And the children were just elated by that. So that just shows you how Tai Chi, Qigong, and the internal arts are so powerful. And I've been in Harlem for 30 years, and we're the only school, not dealing with karate, jujitsu, or kendo, but we're the only school that teaches Tai Chi, Ba Kwa, Sing Yi, and the Taoist boxing art of Li He Ba Fa.
And you also have a system, the palm.
It's called the Plum Blossom 888 method. We use the plum blossom because it comes from the Oriental tradition of the plum blossom blooming in the winter in February, announcing to keep hope and keep optimism alive for the spirit to resurrect. And there's all type of poetry written around the plum blossom. It's a white flower, has 5 leaves that represents the 5 elements also. And my mission statement is to keep the communal soul alive. I said that during the Wesley Snipes, so salute to the masters. I was one of 2 who represented Tai Chi in the United States at that event. And I'm proud to say, and the thing that I always tell my students now, during this time, is knowing how to be in terms of body, mind, medicine, and knowing how to be from the Ni Jing, coming from one of the oldest holistic treatises, states very clearly, knowing how is the maintenance of life. It's clear. And it also says, do not fail to observe the 4 seasons. No matter where you are geographically, you're going to have to observe that and adapt to heat and cold. And I'm just not talking about heat and cold in your environment and the environmental changes. We're talking about heat and cold within the body as well. And then it goes on to say to harmonize elation and anger. And there's a lot of anger going on. People are angry for a lot of reasons, a lot of hostility. We deal with those emotions immediately. I show the meridians or the channels or what exercise we should do immediately to discharge the anger. And we hit the liver. This is springtime, so we go right into it. And we discharge that anger.
Well, one of the things, and again, which is why this grouping of individuals here could not have been better timed than at this particular pandemic that we're going through. So, gentlemen, what do you feel is the most important thing that understanding this art has been to you? And Bill, maybe you can be first.
I think for me, practicing mind-body practices, and I started with Tai Chi and Qigong meditation and those things. But for me, I think that the biggest thing that it helped me do was to let go of the idea of who I thought I was and what I thought was possible. Because it's like I was kind of ruled and constricted by past events that had happened to me. growing up. I mean, we all deal with these things growing up. And so it was like I had a real limited sense of possibility for who I was. And in the Tao Te Ching, it says, when I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. And so practicing these mind-body techniques, these loosening, breath focused, kind of, where you let go of your hold on things, and you let yourself, either in meditation or in the movements, just let yourself become loose and liquid, and you're just feeling the sensations, and you're kind of drifting out of that control consciousness. It gives everything a chance to kind of let go, so that then when you come back to the world, you have this fresh perspective where you can see things and possibilities in more multidimensional ways. And there's a lot of science, the brain science that validates all this, but that's the result that it has in our lives. And I think that was the biggest thing. And and as that happened, it was like I started being less hard on myself. I became a lot more compassionate with myself. And by kind of coming to terms with that and learning how to let go of all that self-judgment and the things from the past, so that I could just kind of let who I was start to express more easily and more fluidly. As I lightened up on myself, I found myself lightening up on all the people around me. And I think that's a big benefit that these things have to offer the whole world, really.
Robert, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I've spent the better part of my life in the healing arts, but always in a model that was dependent on something external to provide a solution for whatever ails you. And in my journey with Qigong and then Tai Chi Chuan, it's led me to that place where I know that I know that I know that all the answers are within. And if I can make the time to be still with proper techniques, then I can uncover all of that and unleash that for my own personal healing. And as my vibration increases, then that in of itself is the model for stimulating somebody else to stay on their path. And so that's been the deepest thing that I've learned from it.
And Lamar?
The same as Bill and Dr. Woodbine, the letting go and the breathing. The martial arts has helped me a lot with the breathing, man. Matter of fact, after all these years, I'm back to doing the heavy breathing, get it into relaxing and letting go. That's it.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
It is funny though, and Lamar and Abdul, you can appreciate it. It wasn't really Tai Chi for me. It was Goju. I had a sensei, Leon Wallace, and his whole thing is that I want to make you do what you didn't know you could do. And he had a way, as you guys know, in order to make that happen. But when I started with this, I understand what you are all saying, because it again allows for healing to come about. And Dr. Woodbine, when I was in Korea, it wasn't as long as you, but we went to cold water. I had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and deal with, the whole chores and food and that type of schedule. But, after a while, it becomes a new normal. I guess that's the best, that's exactly how things, go. And,
exactly.
And Abdul, you went to China, I know, with your master, and I know that you have you were a martial artist. You were known as a Shotokan. People say, what? I don't know. He's going with Tai Chi. He's a champion martial artist. In the film, Lamar was saying, when I first came here, man, he knocked me down. He was going to go out and get your gun.
What the internal arts have done for me is there's in terms of the Tao, of the 8 principles of the Tao of abundance, and that is the flow of its energy from its unity, is allowed me to realize my inherent ability, and that's called Te. That's why they call it the Tao Te Ching, the power of self-actualization. And I had to use that, put that into use by embracing the technology, and now I'm doing Zoom classes. So,
which is why I think that we all are able to do this, because I think we all have this same thing. I mean, I know that, you know, all of you came from a time where a website was where Spider-Man used to hang out.
and we all can say this. We all come out of the analog world.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But
now we are adjusting to the digital world and see the power of it. But once again, Tay, the power of realizing your own innate ability, and once again, as Dr. Woodbine said, to self-actualize, to find out that this model that we're teaching people, they have to practice. They have to walk.
Exactly.
We're just mailman delivering the mail. We're not the mail.
There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's it.
Well, you know,
I've got 5 key words that I use, and that's tenacity, discipline, diligence, courage, and resilience. And that's what the framework for what I teach my students and my patients.
And the time that we now, what we have to pass on and show in ourselves is spiritual resilience during this time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Which in many cases, and I want you all to give the listeners where they might be able to reach you on Zoom, or how they might be able to see some of the classes that you're doing, because the other part of the reason why this is an important discussion is that people being by themselves at home, whether they're by themselves or even with a mate. I understand that there's a great deal of divorce cases, and there are many different issues, because when you're closed in, you know, a friend of mine was saying, you know, my friend is pissed off because now he knows that the teacher wasn't wrong. It was his kid.
Yeah, I mean, you know, most people see their children on weekends, never mind 5 days a week being with them.
Yes.
So let's start. Bill, how can people see you online?
Well, my website is smarttaichi.com. So if you just Google Smart Tai Chi, it'll come right up to the top. And then if you go to worldtaichiday.org, you can join the newsletter, and we will send out bulletins on different online summits that we will be doing in the future if we make that happen. And so that's something that the instructors here in this conversation might be interested in the future, is perhaps being part of one of these future online summits, because we're looking for, you know, masters from all over the world, really. And so anyway, if everybody could kind of get on our worldtaichiday.org email list, and you can always email me personally if you reply to the newsletters, and then I can get in touch with you, you know, as this develops about these online summits, so that we can, you know, make your skills, you know, more available to more people through that.
And Bill, how many countries? Last year, how many countries are involved in World Tai Chi Qigong Day?
Well, as far as we know for sure, 80. But I have a feeling that it's probably a lot more countries than that, because a lot of the events, we don't even know that they're happening until after World Tai Chi Day is over, and then we'll see them on YouTube, or somebody will send us a link from Google or something. And so it's at least 80 countries. And World Tai Chi Day has been officially proclaimed by 22 U.S. governors, including the governor of New York, and by senates and legislatures, California and New York and Puerto Rico, and the National Congress of Brazil. So we've gone a long ways to kind of really legitimizing Tai Chi and Qigong in the world. And so we want to use that fuel to start trying to get, at some point, get this stuff into public education, not just in individual schools around the country, but as a core part of public education for every student. And then another step is to get it into schools all over the world, because one of the things that happens when we practice these things is we're easier to get along with. Our empathy and compassion parts of our brain gets bigger, and our fear and stress part of our brain gets smaller. And you know that because, just like these masters here that are talking, they're all, easygoing people that you enjoy being around. It's like our brains have been changed by this. And if we can get this into public schools all over the planet, it'll be good for all those countries. They'll save a lot of healthcare costs, but it'll also make other countries easier to get along with.
And the other part of it too is that not only in schools, I would go as far as in senior center centers and places like that too. Dr. Woodbine, how can people view you or see involved in your teaching?
I've got a YouTube channel. It's URBANQI, one word, and the second word is FIT, all in caps. That's one way. I've got an Instagram account at Gen, GENROOT9, GenRoot9. And then they can always email me at urbanchifit, URBANQIFIT, at gmail.com. And I'm doing a series of Zoom classes on a weekly basis, as well as teleconference calls with my seniors, as well as my regular students, and some church groups as well.
Lamar?
Yeah, you can get me on thornton.lamar@yahoo.com. We're in the process of putting up putting the school on Zoom, and I think we're going to put it on our website. But thornton.lamar@yahoo.com.
And Abdul?
I can be reached at Tai Chi Internal Healing Arts. That's plural arts at .com. Once again, Tai Chi Internal Healing Arts.com or Tai Chi Internal Healing Arts at Gmail.
And what, as I had mentioned before, there is a wonderful film about the journey of Abdul Musawir. We'll show after this conversation a 2-minute trailer, and you will be able to see the whole film on Soul City TV. But I think you can get it now. Where would they be able to get your film now, Abdul?
They can go to, once again, Tai Chi Internal Healing Arts at gmail.com. Tai Chi, that's TAICHI, internal, INTERNAL, at gmail.com.
And again, this particular discussion, as well as all of the other discussions on doing virtual H2W celebration, will be available on our sites, and we'll make sure that we allow for you to have that information. So if you're just coming on and looking at it, it'll be on the H2W Facebook, and we'll show you how to get to some of the other platforms that it will take for it. So,
and Tony, I'd just like to add, we have Zoom classes now as we talk. So if you contact me, you'll get the schedule for the Zoom classes.
Okay, and I will be in contact with all of the panelists. And you can always reach me at Onuwon, ONUWON, at gmail.com. And if you have problems getting to them, or if they have updates on their schedule, I'll be glad to make sure that that's posted on our H2W website, or give it to you directly. But, again, I am honored to have had an ability to talk with 4 gentlemen that have literally influenced thousands upon thousands of people over the years, and have saved, I'm sure, many lives, many that you probably have no idea what you've been able to accomplish. But the most important thing for me is that even though we are kind of in a different type of a normal state, if not for this, we would not have been able to have this type of session. And the people who are looking at this, please look at the idea of when you're home, rather than looking at the news, which could be problematic as relates to
Exactly.
fear
And Tony, the other thing I want to remind people, it's an old saying, and it goes like this: health is wealth. Now we see that. We see that wealth is not just what you possess. Wealth is who you are.
Yes, exactly.
Well, again,
now this is the time where health is our wealth.
That's true. And also, one of the things in one of my writings, I indicated I became more involved in wellness because I had a loved one where the doctors gave up on her. And we chose other types of methods in order to maintain her life 3 years after the doctors gave up on her. And now I am seeing that the world is in that same situation. It's not that the doctors gave up on them, but there's nothing that the doctors really can do
to offer.
So the only thing that you can do is what forced me into getting into wellness. Either you give up or you find other methods that would be necessary in order for you to survive.
The other thing I want to add to what you're saying, I say, because I know people who are recovering from the virus, and these are people who did not confuse their diagnosis with their prognosis.
Yes.
Need I repeat that again? Did you hear that, Dr. Woodbine?
Please. One more time. Exactly. So and even deeper than that, they didn't associate their diagnosis with themselves.
Right. Exactly. Because I know some people.
You are not your diagnosis. You are not your diagnosis.
Right. You are not. And that's what we have to remember. And our emotions are not along for the ride. They shape our perspective, how we see ourselves. Before, they would just sideline things that doctors used to say from the podium. But now we know, as Mr. Douglas said, the gospel of science is with us. And psychoneuroimmunology, all of these disciplines coalesce show that. If you're a pessimistic person, you have more cortisol in your system and you're more prone to heart attacks. That's
absolutely.
And fear
and the number one disease on the planet is, or at least in the U.S., is what? Heart disease.
Heart disease.
That disconnect.
That's right.
Heart disease. Yeah, that disconnect. Yeah, it's not just the diet; it's the emotional content.
No,
or lack thereof.
It's the mind also.
Exactly.
If you think you're going to get sick, your chances of getting sick are a lot greater than if you feel that you can overcome that.
One of the things that I learned when I was doing the research for the Gospel of Science was it was one of the very last things that I put in the book before it went to publication. And there was research that came out, and what it showed was that when we go through the normal stresses that we go through, the body starts to get squeezed, and they can actually, with science now, they can actually see that it causes the DNA helixes to coil more tightly. And what that does, when that happens, it diminishes every aspect of our health, because everything comes from the expression of the DNA.
Exactly.
And so the science is showing these mind-body practices, Tai Chi, Qigong, meditation, all these mind-body practices. One of the measurable results they have is they cause that tightened DNA to uncoil. And that DNA uncoils, everything changes. The body
Flows.
starts more helper T cell. It functions at a higher level. All these things.
Not just uncoil, but also not to fray like your shoelaces.
Exactly.
Telomeres.
Exactly.
The
The telomeres, yeah.
telomeres, correct. Dr.
Well,
and we
Yeah,
the new subject called epigenetics. Simply
Exactly.
if you have the proper environment, you put the good guys in your gut, the good bacteria, you're going to have a good outcome. And your high blood pressure doesn't have to be because your mama had it and her mother had it. No, not at all.
Have you guys seen Bruce Lipton, Biology?
The Biology of Belief.
Oh yeah.
He's awesome.
Exactly.
The Tao Te Ching says those who lack in belief will not be believed. And that's the 24th verse of the Tao Te Ching.
Exactly.
And I
exactly.
Right.
But the world is able to see the experiences over the years of having conversations with these. I mean, we could continue because you see they're just getting warmed up now.
The chi is flowing. The chi is flowing.
And so what this is that again, you want to contact these people. There's so much information, so much knowledge, and so many ways that you can overcome some of the issues that you're going through. Because as everyone has mentioned, if it's understood that you are not who you think that somebody think that you are, you then can understand how to sit and to find out what the answers are from within rather than looking for them from without. And we're in that situation now. So please follow up with these masters. We will make sure that you can be in contact with them. And please, for each one of you, are there any parting words that you might want to say to the listeners?
I'd like to read a poem to your point, Tony, if you'd allow me to.
Surely.
Yeah. It's part of a book of poetry that I'm actually getting ready to publish. It's the title of this one is The N-Word, No, Not Nots. Within earshot of the pulpit, in the hallowed back room of this sanctified space, the venerable pastor greets her counseling request with a question. What's up, my nigga? What's up, my nigga? A broken refrain from a scratch lament and stuck in a groove that doesn't serve. What's up, my nigga? Too familiar and not the name her mama gave her, and yet her mama calls her nigga too. Yo, my nigga. Yo, my nigga. Yo, my nigga. Heartfelt echoes reverberating against the concrete canyons of urban streets. Sweet greetings off the tongue, soft of the secret handshake. Manly mutual pats on the back. Meant to be endearing, but not a term of endearment. My soul listens for its name to be called and exalted, not denigrated. My soul listens for its name to be esteemed, not niggified, in the lie of who I'm not. I'd rather be me than the nigger that I'm not. The bigger version of God's intention. I'd rather be me than your version of me tied up in knots. And yes, you're entitled to your opinion, but its imposition is a knot that binds, and me it's not. I'm averse to your version of who I'm not. And this verse is that declaration that I'd rather be me than the nigger that I'm not. The bigger version of God's refrain, no, not your profane caricature creation, the void of me, the nigger that I'm not.
And that's and by Dr. Robert J. Woodbine. Well, again, for many of you, I want to thank you all for taking time to be here, even though I guess no one is teaching outdoor classes, so it's easier for you guys to get.
Tony, I mean, I give my classes outdoors, so I'm outside, and I tell all my students, wear your gloves, wear your mask, but get outside.
Breathe.
And plus, one of the
and take in the sun, some vitamin D. Still
Yes,
important.
sir.
Like I said, I'm not asking them to do anything radical. Wear your gloves, wear your face mask, but get outside in the sun.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and make sure that your body is alkaline. Try to lower the acidity in your body, and you'll probably, just like any flu or virus, be in a
Go
better
through it.
position to get through this one also. But
Amen.
but thank you all. I
That's
appreciate
all of them. I've been oranges, papaya, pineapple.
Thank you.
I mean, when do we give up those basic foods?
Exactly.
Well, one of the
Exactly.
things, one of the things that it was in one of my articles. I said, I remember my mother always used to tell me, wash your hands when you come in. Cover your mouth. Get your hands out of your mouth. Stop thinking.
Exactly. Exactly.
Why you
sit on the bed with your street clothes on?
right?
Right.
Somebody said it's funny because the older I get, the smarter my parents get.
Exactly. Exactly.
Even in remedies.
Exactly.
Even in remedies. Well, things come full circle. Thank you.
Full circle. Thank you. It's a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Let's stay in touch.
Will do.
Look forward to it. All
Will
right.
do.
Look forward to
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.
And we're going to end with a segment of Abdul's new video. Thank you all.